Hi, David Paul here. I made the subject of this video, I'm just going to talk to the camera, conversations with angels. Had a bit of trouble getting the soundtrack right, so I've had to try it a few times, and this is as good as I can get, and I hope the image quality comes out a bit better than what I'm seeing coming back to me. But anyway, I haven't put any videos up lately for a while because life's been really tough, and I haven't had anything good to put up, fun, interesting, what I'm doing or inspiring in, like I'm making something or whatever. So I haven't put anything up. I have made a few videos which I will put up later when things are better, to show the trials I've been through and the way out of it, and how it is now, when I'm in a better position, how it is now so much better, so you can see the contrast. Otherwise it's just grim. Okay, so I went to see a friend of mine who had a stroke, and so I took him out in his wheelchair, pushed him around. We had a meal in the pub and a beer and a coffee as well, and it was nice. And I brought him home, stayed at his house that night, and it was a nice change because at the minute I'm completely on my own. I never see anybody other than people in the streets or in the library or something like that. I never see anybody to have conversation with, and I'm sorry British people, you're not very friendly. The English aren't, and certainly not the home counties lot, so that's that, you just got to suck it up. So I went to see this friend, and his son, who I've talked to him in the past about Christianity, because he just talks about stuff, and his father as well, and they're a Hindu family, and I don't expect them to be changing in any way, shape or form anytime soon. But his father had shown him stories, read him stories as a kid about Jesus, and his father, my friend, he's more than a friend, he's more of a brother. He showed him these things about Jesus when he was a kid, and he's starting to make inquiries into this stuff, and he says that he's having experiences, and I kind of explained that what's happening to him, and in from my point of view and from what I believe, and I'm not. People talk about evangelical Christians, and as I pointed out to my friend, to my friend's son, there's no such thing as an evangelical Christian. I think it's Matthew 28. It challenges us to take the gospel out to everybody. So it's basically a challenge to all Christians. So you can't differentiate one bunch and say they're evangelical. In some way or other, you've got to communicate your faith to others. And that doesn't necessarily mean standing on street corners preaching the gospel or whatever it is. It's just by way of your life, and also not hiding it under a bush sort of thing. Don't hide your light behind a bush or whatever. I can't remember the expression. Anyway, what happened was he starts telling me about all his experiences he's having, and this great sense of peace and so on. And he started going to church, and his family, strangely enough, are not at all alarmed about this. They don't seem to mind. This guy's a really nice kid, and Hindu or Christian, he's a really nice kid. So he's asking me about this, and I told him about a couple of experiences I've had. The very first experience, which that was the seminal point that made me a Christian, of being standing at a bus stop one night, and a car came zipping along and just yanked to a halt. Guy flung the door open and said, "Do you want a lift?" And the bus had gone, and so I said, "Yeah, well, where are you going to? Ashington." "Oh, I'm going there." And he dropped me off at the end of the road. And we just got talking about life and things, and he never mentioned Christianity at all. But there was a kind of a peace in the situation. A profound peace. And I went to bed that night. I didn't have anything really drastically bad going on in my life. I'd split up with a girlfriend, but I was just feeling like flat, not like morbidly depressed or anything. But this happened, and as I'm driving along, there's this sort of light in everything. It's like the light was in things, in the dark. It's a sense of light in things, very hard to express. And just tremendous feeling of peace. So I got dropped off at the end of the road, walked down the street, went in the house, went to bed, and I slept like a baby. I slept so sound. I must have slept about 10, 12 hours or whatever. And I woke up the next day, and I think I went to work that day, and I was on the bus. Waiting for the bus and on the bus, and I just had this thought that everything you've been told about Jesus Christ is just true. It's kind of like a data download. That's it. That's the way I describe it. It's like when you sign up for an app, or you sign up for people used to get Microsoft software on their computer. They'd pay the money and then they'd download the thing, and then they had this app. They had this software facility or knowledge or whatever, or database, and for me, what I'd got was this sense that it was all true, and I thought, well, I can take this both ways. I can just like say, oh well, what is it? A sort of brain excursion of endorphins or something, or is this happening, or what? Well, you've got your choice. You can just cast it aside if you want, I suppose. But I had a tremendous desire not to do that, and I decided that I was going to follow this and follow it through. But that was kind of like a baptism, a change at that moment, that acceptance point. And Jesus said that he would baptize people with the Holy Spirit, so I put it down to that. And in that baptism, life seemed different from that instant, and it seemed that life was a lot more positive, and that you would, although you are subject to trials and terrible things happening in your life, you have this tremendous inner strength which lets you get through it. And I suddenly felt this amazing internal strength as well, like I was solid, and I wasn't going to be knocked aside. And also this experience of like in the bus, riding along in the bus and looking out at the trees and the grass and the countryside, and everything just being brighter and more vivid and alive, and alive and abundant sort of feeling. And Jesus said, I am come that you shall have life and have it abundantly. So there it was before my eyes. Then after that, I had a sort of interest in Quakers, and I started attending Quaker meetings, and that was a kind of a halfway house for me, a reintroduction to Christianity. And I found at the end it was great and it was peaceful, but there was something missing. And what I think it was is the fact that you can't be wishy-washy about this, you know. Well, I'm not wishy-washy about it, and you can't be wishy-washy about it, and you can't. It's not this. The light comes from everywhere stuff. It doesn't really. It may come from a different direction, but it's this God of Israel that is directing it through another person or whatever. By whatever means, that is God, and that's where it's coming from. If it's coming from God. So I decided that wasn't satisfactory, and I met a friend, Richard Norgrove, on the Underground, and he was, he went to church, and he was a devout Christian, and I talked to him about all these issues and stuff, and he said, well, if you're not happy with the Quakers, just come back to the Church of England. So I go back to the Church of England, and I went back to the Church of England and spoke to the local church in Milton Keynes, where I was living at the time, and I spoke to the, what do you call him? Various people call him a minister, vicar of St Andrew's Church in Milton Keynes, and I talked to him and said that I wanted to be confirmed because I'd been baptised in the Church of England as a child, but this was me returning. And you're not supposed to take Holy Communion until you've been confirmed, but I went and did it, and I'm sure God will forgive me for that. But I was attending this church, and I take this Holy Communion, and the tears are rolling down my face. Great, quite an emotional thing, this slow down. So a sense of having gone home, that's it, what it is, you know, the feeling like you've arrived home, and also the sense of the enormity of what it represents. So anyway, I was told to read various things in the Gospel of St Matthew, and in particular, and St Paul's letters to the Philippians, and there's a bit in the letters to Philippians where he says, you know, all this stuff that I've been doing, and because he was a devout Jew, like what we'd probably call an Orthodox Jew these days, and he diligently carried out everything that he was supposed to do, and so on. And there's a point in the letters to the Philippians where he says, you know, I did all these things and stuff, and I just think it was a waste of time now, in modern terms, you know, modern way of putting it. And you'll read that if you read the Good News Bible, you'll read it put in that sort of way. And Paul was a strange character because, you know, it's an experience on a road that he has, and an experience on a road that I had. And Paul of Tarsus, he formerly called Saul, he has this vision of Jesus, and he talks to Jesus, and he gets blinded, and then he basically becomes a Christian. But he persecuted Christians, so he was going along in his life in one direction. I was going in my life in one direction as well. And what happened with Paul, or Saul rather, Jesus changed his name to Paul, although they're quite interchangeable for the period, Saul and Paul. Well, anyway, Jesus tells him he's going to call him Paul now. And I think that is a kind of a changing his name is a symbolic thing as well. I think Jesus is up to something there in changing his name to Saul, a sort of way of marking him out as a different man, because he sure was. So there he is, he's persecuting Christians one minute, and then the next minute he's a total flip round in the opposite direction, 180-degree turn, and a completely transformed person. He's a transformed person, and that's where I take the view that when this happens, it's like being born again. It's like having a new life, and that felt like that for me, and it sure was true for Paul. He was feared so much by Christians that some of them didn't even accept him. But he was a grafter, and he went around preaching the gospel all over the place and walking miles all over the place and worked himself to death doing this. So he was the same person in the sense of personality and stuff as he was persecuting Christians, but now he's promoting Christianity. So that was Paul. Now Paul. And that was the sort of thing that happened to me, except I didn't go around persecuting people beforehand. It's kind of a nice guy, and afterwards I was a nice guy, but with a transformed view of life. So I tell this boy about this 29-year-old boy, and also so that was that, and I just went back to the Church of England, and I now go to church as much as is practicable, in my life, and so I have various favourite churches all over the place, all over the world, really, I suppose. And when I'm in town, and and there's a church near, I will go. So then what happened? I went and got confirmed, and there's a confirmation that you go for, and God, that was emotional. That was so absolutely, I feel emotional now talking about it. Overwhelming. It was such an overwhelming experience. I couldn't stop crying. But anyway, I just could not stop crying. The tears were pouring down my face and dropping on the floor in pools. So you made an impression, Jesus. I'll try and get it together because I've got stuff to say. So that's that, and I've followed that, and I've done stuff in my life, and which is informed by my different point of view that I have now. So my direction, that I take my life in, clearly frustrates some people as to why I'm trying to do this or that or the other, why I run this channel, because I want to empower people, show you how to build a cabin. If you were homeless, maybe you didn't know how to make a cabin, and you see one of my videos, you might build a cabin. You might live on a boat. That guy did it. Oh, look, that's how you do that, and that's how you function in that country. That's how you buy a house in Portugal and live there. That's how you fix the house up in Portugal. It's a desire to make life better for the guy who's down at the bottom. I don't want, we don't all have to be driving around in Ferraris or something, That's not what I'm seeking, because I think that would be That might actually be quite sad. But I would like to see people have roofs over their head, food on the table, and families and their lives to be intact and secure, and knowing that there's going to be a meal and a roof over their head tomorrow and the day after and so on. And that's a conservative sort of view, isn't it? Anyway, so what happened is I continue for years doing this and whatever, get on with my life, get on with my physics teaching, and I overcome quite a lot of obstacles as a result of this, because of this inner strength, this determination that I will not be knocked down. Although recently life's been challenging because I'm trying to get a job teaching and I'm having a terrible job getting a police check, DBS. For some reason it's taken me months and months and months, but we've gone through COVID and everything is a mess. We've got strikes going on in the health service and stuff everywhere is a mess, so could be something to do with that. And it's happening to other teachers as well, so I'll just have to suck it up. Anyway, next thing goes on is that, so I'll tell them about all this stuff, and I'll tell them about another there have been many experiences of people sort of just coming out of the woods and just helping me at very relevant times. And I came back from the Philippines and I had to go down to Portugal because otherwise I'd have nowhere to stay or anything, and it seemed a good idea to go down there for a couple of months and then come back to start the new teaching season, which has never panned out, and it's been a waste of time being in England, but I wasn't to know that. But I went down to Portugal for a couple of months, so I'm sent down to my ex-wife. She paid the ticket and she sent me down to the south of Portugal to Faro. I think it's pronounced Faro, or Faroes as non-Portuguese pronounce it. And then I had to get all the way back up to my place in Coimbra in central Portugal, and I'm agitated about this, because I'm arriving at a funny time of night, and am I going to be cold and this and that, neither am I going to freeze to death. I've got nowhere to stay, I'm very short of money, I can't afford a hotel, and I'm kind of feeling cornered and odd. Could I stay at the airport or could I not? I don't know, because because I just don't know. It's just a strange experience, and I have to find out these things. Now, I know how to work Portugal now, plus I'm also speaking more Portuguese, enough to get around. So I'm in this uneasy situation, and I come out of the airport and just wander around thinking, what am I going to do? And I'm standing at this bus stand, and there are a bunch of girls there. There'd be like about 20 or something like that. There's one which is a bit older. She's, I don't know, 25, 29. I can't remember what she said. And she said to me, she came up to me and she said, "Come to the beach." And I said, "Oh, are you guys all going to the beach?" They said, "Yeah, we're going to the campsite at the beach." I said, "Oh, that's interesting. How much is that?" And I had a sleeping bag, and they said, "Oh, it's only €12 for the night." I thought, wow, that's good. That's a cheap hotel, and so long as it doesn't rain, you could just sleep in your sleeping bag and you'll be okay and everything will be fine. Right, let's do that. But this particular girl said, "We're going to the beach," and she says, she said, "Come to the beach with me." And I said, "Well, why should I come? What do you mean, go to the beach?" She said, "Sleep on the beach. We will go and sleep on the beach." And I said, well, I thought, I might get arrested or God knows what, and I said to her, "What?" She says, you can sleep on the lilos I said, oh, okay. I said, but you want me to come to the beach? She says, yeah. And I said, well, I could be a mad axeman or something like that, killer, a serial killer or something like that. And she says, she just looks me very knowingly in the eyes. She said, you are not a killer. I said, well, as it happens, I'm not. And she said, I'll be safer with you there. I thought, I don't know why you think you're going to be safer with me, but that's very nice that you think that. So I said, okay. So we go on the number 16 bus to the Prior, the beach, get off, and it's a beautiful warm evening, a little bit humid, but lovely and warm. And I get this bright idea. So I pick up there's a slope on the beach. There's also a slope on the lilo. So I picked the lilo up, this like sort of couchy thing that people sunbathe in. I don't know what you call them. Sunbather, I guess. Turn it round the opposite way so the two angles cancel each other out, and it's now lying flat, horizontal. And I help her to do that to her. She says, oh, that's a good idea. And then I give her a length of cord, a length of rope, and I get a piece for myself. And she says, what's this for? I said, tie it to your arm and tie it to your bag, so if somebody comes along and steals your bag, they won't think you've got it fastened to your arm. It'll tug your arm, wake you up, and you won't get your bag stolen. This is Portugal, and I've got like London mentality down in Portugal. Nobody's going to come and steal a bag. But never mind. So I better drink this coffee. Because it's going cold and it's expensive. I'm in Cafe Nero in Heathrow Airport at the moment. So, more about that later. So we go to the beach and she's talking to me and she's asking me very deep sort of questions about me and my life and stuff. And I told her about this channel as well. And just sort of like being reassuring and stuff like that, about stuff, whatever I'd said. We're not talking about religion or anything like that, but there again was that sense of peace, and she said, I have to go at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to catch a bus. And I said, oh, I'll do that, because you can't go anywhere but upwards. Faro is the lowest part in Portugal, the southernmost. So I guess you must be going north. The buses will be kicking off at that time. I'll do that and I'll go early as well. And that's that. So I'll get up then when you get up. And so she says she wants to put her feet in the ocean, in the sea. It's the Atlantic Ocean, isn't it? And I said, okay. Well, I said, I don't want to do that. I don't like that sort of thing. I'm from a very cold place, and standing plunging in the sea doesn't appeal to me. But probably the water was very warm. And she said that she was from Slovenia. And she was just travelling. I said, well, what are you doing? Oh, just travelling. And quite a mysterious person. And so I went to sleep. Slept like a baby, yet again. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, she wakes me and tells me that she's going to go. She said, you'll be okay. And I said, oh, well, I'll get up. I'll get up. I'm kind of like puzzled with tiredness. And she said, no, just stay there. Get some rest. You need some rest. And that was that. I had told her about my channel. And that was that. And I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. And it all of this, I've come up with this kind of theory, belief that what God does is talks through people to you, and they become an agent in your life. So it's not so much like you've got an angel appears in your life. An angel appears in your life like with wings and all that stuff. It's these people who come out of the woods at these relevant times and just turn your life in a different direction, or reassure you, or whatever. And I told him about this, so because he's having experiences like this. Then what happened? So sure enough, next day I get up and I go on. There's a sort of patisserie near the beach in Faro, and I sit there and I treat myself to a coffee, a latte, and one of these pastries and a sort of pasty thing for breakfast. It's a Portuguese kind of thing. You just do it, When you're in Portugal, you do this all the time. You've got to have the coffee, the coffee and the pastry and so on. And so then I set off and I head on up. I ask a few questions about keeping boats down there on behalf of my son, who I'm trying to persuade to take an interest in the stuff because it's so beautiful, and he could put his boat there for peanuts. And then after I've done this, I head off and I get the train. There's a train station there. Waited for the train and headed on up to Coimbra. And from Coimbra, normally I stay in a hotel if it's the wrong time. No, I didn't do that this time. I didn't stay in a hotel. I went straight to the house. So I didn't know the way to my village on the bus. Venda dos Marinas is the destination for the bus, and most of the bus drivers don't know that they go to Grosinas, because they're actually going to Venda dos Marinas, which is just next to it by a couple of hundred meters. So I had been going to Panella and getting the taxi from there with a guy called Marco. Marco is like a great guy, and we've become friends, I think. And everybody knows Marco in Panella. It's a kind of place like that, people just know you. And so anyway, Marco takes me back to my house, and he drops me off, and I look to see if my tools are still there, and they're gone. There's like 600 quid's worth of tools stolen, and I'm like, man, really, like, I don't want to swear because like it's not this kind of video, but I could swear. Cheesed off about it, and I'm going, oh no, man, because I'm there, and then I'm suddenly down there again. Like somebody's jackboot has like kicked me back down again, and I'm working with hand tools and stuff now instead of being able to use power tools, maybe, which I would have done. But apart from all that, whether I wanted to use the tools or not, those tools are taken there to do future jobs. I've been setting these things up. I keep setting things up and people knock me down. So I was really cheesed off about this. But I started making a video which is on this channel, and it's 34 seconds long, and I put the video up, which is a bit silly because it's not a great video. I'm standing on the steps of my house up the side, and I'm making a video, and I said, and then the angels arrived. I swear to God, this is like, there's 2-3 cars just descended like the cops, like a police raid on my house. But it wasn't. It was the villagers, one family in particular, and they said to me, "You cannot stop here tonight. this place is not suitable for you to stay in. You will, not like would you like to, you will come to our house tonight. We are having a big meal and you will come. And then you will go to my father's house and stay there for as long as it takes. Wow. So maybe the 600 quid loss of the tools was worth it in the end, because I made these friends, because that's when your back's against the wall and when you're in trouble and this, that and the other, and if these people come out of the woodwork, that's when you know who your friends are. And then suddenly the whole damn village is now rooting for me. And so I went to this meal, and that's what I said on the video. I said 34 seconds and then the angels arrive. And I knew as they arrived, my face burst into a smile. And I wanted to catch that spontaneous, genuine smile on camera, so I had to post the video. So anyway, I went to the house, and very odd, because I just felt like I'd known them forever. And I just sat there at the table, relaxed, and I ate this roast pork stuff that they had, which is just like, and roast pork and potatoes and vegetables and a little bit of pizza and olives and some of the home wine, and it was just the flavour of the food was off the scale. And I looked at them all and I thought, my God, the quality of life you guys have got. You have a house, a nice house, you got nice kids, you got a family, and you got a home, and you got food on the table and a roof over your head and a warm bed, and it's all together. So be like a Portuguese, try and aspire for that instead of this crazy fractionating life that we seem to have in the United Kingdom all the time. It's everything we have, somebody wants to pull it to bits, we want to pull the church to bits. Let's pull the church to bits. Let's pull the monarchy to bits. Let's complain about everything, and then when you finish pulling it to bits, and then we're feeling lonely and lost and don't know who the hell we are. Well, it's your own fault, but I'm not pulling anything to bits. Portugal, what I would change about Portugal? Zilch, yeah. So that was that, and as I say, these people, they come out of the woodwork, and it's divine in its origin, however nuanced you want to make that, but it's there. So anyway, that's some stuff that I'd wanted to talk about for a long while. And why would you want to watch this video about this bloke ranting on about experiences in his life? Well, if you're on a tough time at the moment, consider what I've said. And as I'd said to this boy, I said, well, the choice is yours. Christ's holding out his hand to you. But the key thing is, if you let him in the tiniest way, if you just let him in and throw the guy a bone sort of thing, he will more than double the response. He will respond. He will amplify that, and he will ultimately take over your life, but in a good way, So that's about it. That's about all I can say on this subject, and we see how the future goes. So where do I go now? I didn't know how I was going to approach this video, and I've done now 40 minutes of talk on this, but it has been 30 years of life though. So what am I doing now? Yet again, courtesy of my ex-wife, she's bought me a ticket to the Philippines. I've got a new relationship out there, which I'm having a challenge maintaining it, because I can't get this job that I need. I need to get a job to prime the pump and get my life moving again. A week or two of supply teaching will just be like an injection of vitamins into my life. It'll capitalise so much, but it's not happening. It's extraordinary the amount of time I've had to wait. They withdrew my application with no explanation. I've got the next application in, and I'm sitting waiting for that, and it's now 23? We're looking at 22 days I've been waiting for the second one. The first one was like 4.5-5 months, so it's madness. I mean, I would even understand it if they just turned me down and said what the reason was, but they just don't. Your application has moved through to the next level, and it just parks at the police level, stops. So I don't know. COVID's like got everything messed. So the next thing is I'm going to the Philippines, and I'll start making some videos there about things that I'm doing. I tried the last time to start building a small house. We'll see if that's enabled by people over there. I'm going down to Davao and Samal Island. I have a lot of wood on Talikod Island to move to Samal Island, and if I could get it over there, I could construct myself a tiny house about 10 or 12 feet by 10 or 12 feet, and that would be sufficient to keep me out of the elements, and then just extend it, and now you've got a home, you've got a house built. But it all depends on the goodwill and support of various people out there, or whether they just push against me. But if they push against me, I will come back, and I'll proceed with the other plan, which is to work on a house in Portugal. But I've got 18 months of mortgage to pay off the house in Portugal, so I'm kind of frozen underneath this £413 a month mortgage that I have to pay out, So once that goes in 18 months, I'll just go poof, my income goes right up, and then that's 400 quid worth of materials I can spend. It's 2 doors, it's whatever I choose to do with it. It's transformational. That's a lot of bags of cement or whatever. So as I say, life is just frozen. So I've got a rather bleary-eyed hangdog face, and it's because I'm so tired. I'm sleeping at the airport tonight because we've got rail strikes going on and all sorts, and I'm not getting caught up in any crisis whatsoever. So I came yesterday because I'm sick of the crappy weather, and I thought, well, it'll be warm here, and I'm so toughened up I could sleep. Well, I slept on the hard concrete last night, and I slept like a baby. I stayed in the airport last night, and I will do the same tonight. And I'm using the daytime to do physics work in preparation for something else that I've got going at the University of Coimbra, if I pull it off. So, thanks for listening. Definitely thanks for listening. And catch you later on my next video. So, muito obrigado para Portuguese. I don't speak very good Portuguese yet, so lots and lots of thanks to the Portuguese, okay? And see you back in Portugal, and see you all in Philippines. Paalam, sige na. Adios and goodbye. Jesus be with you. I forgot that bit.